have a lot of money but would like to do something about the alcoholism problems. They don't want to build hospitals. They can't afford to.
Right.
But they could afford to give naltrexone.
Okay, that's really some interesting news. Thank you for the interview, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Hi there. As a podcast, we include a chatter section that lets our listeners know what we've been up to lately and answers people's questions regarding the segments. I want to say hi to all our regular listeners, welcome those new to the show, and suggest that they visit our liberally mentioned website for more insightful and often entertaining content. This episode was converted into a YouTube release because of the recently released book on the topic entitled The Cure for Alcoholism by Roy Escapa, ISBN 798-1-933771-55-7. Get it on an online bookstore near you. Our regular audience has already heard most of what I have to say on this topic, but I'm certain that there are numerous people who are curious about what I might have discovered in the 3 years since the release of the original podcast. The cure itself is about 15 years old, so if the cure is so good, why is alcoholism still a problem? I should start by saying that I found many reasons that the treatment hasn't been adopted, but none of them involve any shortcomings of the treatment itself. The primary problem I discovered is that the word alcoholism involves immense equivocation. For those of you not up on your classical fallacies, an equivocation is using multiple definitions of the same word as if they all meant the same thing. I spent about 2 years as the primary author of the alcoholism page on Wikipedia, and one of the biggest challenges was getting people to talk about the same thing. For some people, alcoholism is an addiction, for others it's a disease, and for others still it's a moral failing. If you're among the third group, then no medical treatment is ever going to be able to cure your concept of alcoholism. There are many things that'll put a backbone into the pathetic and weak-willed, and there are other things that'll drive the demons from the morally corrupt, but that isn't the domain of medicine. Damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not an exorcist. Our eventual decision on Wikipedia was that alcoholism is anything that causes you to drink more than is healthy for you. The three major causes for this are physical dependence, neurochemical addiction, and the reasoning belief that it provides you with more benefit than harm. If we again examine the third category, we can apply the standard adage that you can't cure someone who doesn't want to be cured. Psychotherapy can help people to realize that they're no longer receiving the benefits that they might have once been getting, and it can help people put their problems in perspective and help them identify causes. Many people have benefited greatly from this approach, and those who supply that approach like to think that this reasoning belief is the one true definition of the word alcoholism. The insistence upon that definition has resulted in the failure to treat many cases which don't fit that definition. Although physical dependence is a contributor to the problems of alcoholism, it's not one that causes medical science much trouble anymore. The primary issue with physical dependence is that there are still many licensed practitioners of medicine who feel that a traumatic detox is key to overcoming the addiction. This is something that's weakly supported by science, but gains a lot of strength from the philosophy that alcoholism is caused by weak will or moral corruption. In general, a traumatic detox is more a sign that you can't afford a smooth one than anything else. Once we've burrowed through the other definitions of alcoholism, we're left with the neurochemical addiction, and it's this definition that the Sinclair Method uses. The Sinclair Method is also often used in conjunction with counseling in order to deal with the parts of addiction that are psychological in nature. A secondary problem with the adoption of pharmacological extinction is something that sounds like a conspiracy, but which is actually a conjunction of interests. You'd think that it would take a great deal of collusion to keep something like this out of common use, but really it only takes personal investment and the free market economy. The formula is amazingly simple. Those who would most benefit from the adoption of the Sinclair Method are those who are least likely to find out about it on their own. Those most likely to find out about it on their own are those whose lives would be ruined by it. You can apply this to any organization. Alcoholics Anonymous, the Betty Ford Clinic, religion, insurance, pharmaceutical companies. If ever there was a smoking gun to demonstrate that the medical industry isn't interested in curing something that it can treat for years on end, then this is it. This is not a joke, and it's not funny. I spent a year and a half calling around the country researching this, and if you want details, you have my contact information. The third and final obstacle to adoption is that you have to drink to make it work. This acts in several ways. For starters, alcoholism isn't identified until a person's life has gotten so bad that it's obvious to everyone around them. If you ever want to see abject horror and hopelessness in someone's eyes, talk with them about a close relative or friend who suffers from alcoholism. To them, alcohol truly is the monster that sneaks up on you in the comfort of your bed and destroys everything you hold dear. Suggesting to them that someone can be cured of alcoholism while continuing to drink is like suggesting you bleed someone to try and cure a deep cut. There's an old joke that goes, "Doctor, it hurts when I do this," and the doctor responds, "Then don't do that." It seems more than obvious that something hurts you as much as alcohol does, then the first thing you should do is stop doing it. This is an overgeneralization. What's important in curing alcoholism isn't whether or not you drink, it's how your brain reacts to drinking. That's why some of us can't understand why anyone would touch the stuff while others wind up in the gutter. Pharamcological Extinction has the potential for turning the latter group into the former group. It isn't perfect, it has its limitations, but it's undoubtedly something that should be considered by anyone who thinks that they might have a problem with alcohol. Thanks again for listening.
Initiating shutdown sequence.
Intellectual Icebergs is produced by Robert and Tiffany Ratliff. If you enjoy our show, please vote for us on Podcast Alley and Digital Podcast. The music for the intro and credits is Speaking in Electronic Tongues by Synthetic Movements. The music for the main segment is Water Pistols at 10 Paces by Alfonso Nidget. The music for the closing comments is Pocket Orchestra Energy by Synthetic Movements. Please visit us at www.intellectualicebergs.org. Intellectual Icebergs is released under a Creative Commons license and is an Ankh Infinity production.
Initiating shutdown sequence.
System has become unstable. System has become unstable.